staring intently because I feel like the game's gonna crash. But it didn't. Yay! Woo! Alrighty then. First series of the day, just an hour in, no big deal. I've cast a lot of qualifiers, and this actually isn't even that uncommon. But it's been a while, so. Always a sucky experience. Everyone's bored. And time goes by very slowly. Didn't think it would be the case for the Korean server qualifier. But there was a lot of awkward no-shows until the last minute. And then a very unfortunate crash. Very unfortunate indeed. Alright, in the bottom left, as the blue Protoss, it is nice. The top right, as the red Zerg, it is Reynor. Unable to make it out of yesterday's European server qualifier, as he fell to Neeb and then Showtime or something like that. Something like that. Yeah. I know he got knocked out because of Protoss. ZVP, maybe not his strong suit. At least not when it comes to getting into the super late game. His TVZ looked like it was on fire. So I believe he faces... Well, it's a toss-up. It could be Alive or it could be Drogo. Drogo being in Korea, perhaps, right now. So it could be facing Alive, which is like kind of what I assumed. But I'm like, oh, you know what? No, that's not a given. Drogo could definitely make it through. And he faces Alive, and I think even on the Korean server, he has a very good chance to continue advancing. Versus Protoss, maybe not. Maybe not. Now, I think pro gamers have all kind of had discussions about, you know, legitimate and otherwise, balanced complaint and legitimate, I guess, being the two options there. That Zerg might have a slight edge when it comes to dealing with ping over the other races. And whether you want to take this as a balanced complaint or not, I suppose is up to you. And it's Twitch chat, so I guess you guys will. But there is some argument that you can see just like maybe it is a little bit logical. Protoss perhaps don't have consistent APM, but when they need it, right? They need to slap down those force fields at the exact right time. They need their force field to hit in the heart of the army. You know, there's the two big ones that I can think of. Terran generally have like consistent, like they're consistently dropping. They can never do one thing and one thing only. They always gotta have two things going on that they independently control. When it comes to Zerg, their main like engagement issue, when it comes down to literally engaging against an opponent's army, typically is more like I pre-set up my army in a nice like concave / surround. I did my job denying creep spread denial, so I have that, which, you know, is micro for sure, but so now I'm ready to go and swamp you. If it was against Widow Mines, then yeah, there's micro to be there, but we're talking about Protoss, where if you have that large surround, it is going to be more on them, the Protoss, to get those good storms, to get those force fields. If Reynor's able to macro up, get to a decent point, I think he'll have that opportunity to just set up a big attack and then kind of, you know, maybe a little bit of a move. And everyone uses that in a very derogatory sense, but in this case, it's about positioning beforehand. I don't think it necessarily means that Zerg is an easier race, or, you know, obviously gets a huge benefit from being this race when it has ping issues, but I'm just throwing it out there. But the whole trick is, you know, Reynor, does he get to that stage? Does he even play that type of style as well? You know, he's very Ling heavy, so maybe he's more about trying to get those timings on third base. Maybe the ping starts to get to him mentally as he doesn't play off server very much. I don't actually know if it's true. And that also, I think, is maybe even sometimes a bigger issue. Except for those 2 times you see Widow Mines get huge shots. And then you can blame the ping itself. But a bigger issue sometimes is just like the mentality of having to double-click your units constantly. And if you're going up against something even more frustrating than ping, yeah, those two together, suddenly it's not a great mental game. What's more frustrating than perhaps bad ping to Korea? Probably double Stargate Phoenix. Probably. And from what I was able to see of Reynor's games yesterday, he is still, I guess, because I remember this being a weakness for him for basically the last year, he is still seemingly weak against the double Phoenix playstyle. So that bodes well for Nice. I think it's a very good plan. I don't know if he's doing this because he knows or if this is just what's becoming more popular again for Protoss, because it is. But it's going to work out, I think, pretty well for him. We'll see how Reynor handles it. Reynor might have gotten Lings early on here to go ahead and harass a little bit, but can't find any room around that third Nexus. Hasn't quite scouted what it is yet either. Hasn't had the Phoenix revealed, I don't think, anyway. And is going into roaches in a lair off of 3 bases here. Some decent creeps for it as well. Drawing it up as much as he thinks is possible. And considering he just saw a third base, it's still safe for a little while longer. And he also saw a Stargate opener, so it's not like there's a War Prism coming along and that third Nexus is going to be canceled or something really old school like that. Which sometimes we see from some of our different regions, right? We have our 3 main regions, then we have like the Sea, Australian region, then we have Taiwanese, you know, Chinese playstyles. And those players, I mean, are kind of almost notoriously out of the meta for a very long time. Not so much anymore, but it's still something to mention, that it can get a little weird with some of these Taiwanese players. I don't think Nice is playing weird at all. He's actually doing what everyone seems to be doing, going directly into that double robo afterwards. Okay. Hydralis down on the way. I mean, I said this before, if you can get it with not making roaches, that is a great thing to do. But if eventually your competition is going to be Roach Hydra, then that's, yeah, eventually going to make roaches. And it seems to be the case here. No Baneling Nest to make it Ling Baneling Hydra. Which, I mean, maybe this is something that he feels more comfortable with. And if there was a surprise attack, he could instantly make roaches too. So it's also a bit safer, as opposed to making Lings, then making Lings. But it also, like, some players do specifically play to the knowledge that they have to deal with King. And while it might not be a big deal yet, because everything's been kind of just, you know, are you in the right place at the right time against these Phoenix? It could become an issue as we get into the Phoenix, right? And it's not nearly as, maybe, problematic as it is versus Widow Mines, but there is still micro involved. And Roach Hydra might be a little more a movie. You do have an infestation pit, which I was going to talk about lurkers, and I was like, wait, no, actually there's an infestation pit, so hold on here. These are going to be for Fast Hive, in which case, usually in this matchup, Fast Hive has been for their lurker upgrade, lurker speed upgrade. So I'd be surprised if it was a Fast Hive. You might be looking to pile on some pressure and then follow up immediately with some Swarm Hosts, which can do good work. They were almost making a resurgence kind of in the later half 2018 during the break as well, but I'm not sure people have really liked them. Okay, so Reynor does apparently like them. They seem to also be rather popular on Blue Shift. I mean, Blue Shift's not a big map. You're not taking advantage of being able to set them somewhere and then kind of leave them there and they can easily get away. Or being able to see a potential counterattack, the fed up Protoss going like F this and moving across the map. You don't see that with a lot of time to react. But if you pile on the pressure, then they also, the Protoss don't have a lot of time to react, right? Especially if they aren't able to see that there's Swarm Host or an Infestation Pit. Fortunately, without Game Heart, we can't see quite how effective these Phoenix have been, but 21 drones is kind of what you would expect off of a bigger Phoenix count, I would say. So 8 Phoenix in total were made. That's really not a lot. I mean, sometimes we see these double Stargate openers go into 12, 14, you know, 15 maybe is the highest, unless they're being a little bit wonky. But 8's kind of low. I wanted to check that too because I was like, those 2 Robos seem a lot like really fast, and they've actually gone into Colossus, not just for Immortal, but for Colossus. That's a little weird. See if Reynor's going to be comfortable dealing with that. So for only 8 Phoenix made, and you're right into a stronger ground-based army, I'd say that's a decent amount of drone kills. Reynor tried his best to keep up, but Phoenix can be really pesky. So a really nice stasis trap means that the first wave of Locust didn't do so hot, and I'm not sure that Reynor was anticipating the Colossus, which do at a certain number, right, and we're already up to 3, no 4 now, do take care of Locust rather quickly. As far as being a response to Swarm Host, that's never really been their thing. Colossus still only sometimes showing themselves in this matchup. But if you get a really good first wave down and out like that, and it is a short map, and they didn't expect Colossus, well, then I think this counterattack is totally called for. Now, there's not perhaps as much meat to this as you would expect. You know, it wasn't double pumped Immortal. There's not 12 immortals just, you know, living through literally everything you shoot at them. There's not a lot of Archons either, but it's a lot of DPS output there. And while Reynor's army is somewhat durable with the roaches he's got, he is being abused with force fields currently. His third hatchery not looking so hot here. A lot of his supply, a ton of his supply is in those swarm hosts that are just simply not helping out right now. Upgrades, currently even, not really contributing to either side. I think the army of Nice is just perhaps a little too good, but Reynor now backing away, going into a bit more of a concave, and also should have Locust soon, right? Like, it's got to be soon. All right, a couple more seconds, but unfortunately, the rest of his ground army is finally going to die. As we get a... That might be Reynor, actually. Yeah, Reynor, his internet apparently disconnected, and that's why he left the lobby, but it was like for a second. It was really weird. Maybe he just logged in really fast, but this is a very awkward time because it really, really looks like Reynor's gonna lose, and I think that he is. But, you know, if you were to look at the supply right now, it doesn't look that bad. And Locusts are about to pop, and they could maybe do something. So, I don't think he's going to be like, ah, that was a game I lost, even though it looks that way. He'll probably ask for a regame, and then we're going to have an awkward place where, you know, this engagement's kind of been happening for 15 seconds at least. Like, where do you regame? Before the fight begins? As the fight goes in? Questions, man, questions. So the bad luck kind of continues, since it's not my StarCraft 2 crashing, but it is someone else's. Go away, battlecruiser. Why are you here? Why are you always in the background? You're not going to be too happy about that. Already dealing with any slight delay in controlling his units, and then on top of it, apparently his internet will just drop out at any time. I guess he doesn't like the Korean server. Why doesn't Zerg put 3 spores per hatch? Ideally, just your queens are always in position. 3 drones per hatch when you get a decently timed 4th base. That's 12 drones gone and like 1,000 minerals, something like that. So you don't want to have to do that, especially because you really shouldn't have to do that. 3 spores are the most commonly attacked location. Okay, maybe. But to be honest, 3 spores don't even kill Phoenix that fast. Not as fast as they kill your drones. I think with the style that Reynor was playing there, basically swarm hosts, I think the style has to be not just like, I'm going to get the swarm hose. I think it really has to be a lot of aggression beforehand. Like a decent roach push or... Yeah, basically a roach push is usually what I see. Because we see, like, Lambo is practicing anyways. And unfortunately, Lambo didn't get through his own server qualifiers. And is not playing today. Probably just going to play in the open bracket of the tournament. He's like, he would do like a really decently sized roach push against a different opener though, and that's always the trick, is like that 2 Stargate opener was efficient, very efficient. Damn, man, there's already a qualifying match. But anyways, to finish my point off, I think you have to do some damage beforehand before you get to the swarm host to keep the Protoss from just immediately counterattacking once a wave of locusts has been dealt with. Ready spaghetti connects to the Ethernet port. It's funny. Damn, man. Wow. Fantasy beat Bomber 2-1. Nice. Knock versus Cure is happening. That's a qualifying match. Cure versus Trust is a qualifying match. Creator versus Solar is a qualifying match. This is not a very big bracket. Here'd regame thought restart. I meant to recover from replay. So we'll see where they choose to do so. Most, if not all, pros have learned how to correctly do this. There's a time when this was still kind of new. Recover from replay was still kind of new, that they would just get into replay. But you really need the recover from replay because it puts this blocker so you don't see what your opponent was doing. In this case, I guess you wouldn't see that the Stormhosts are about to, pop their Locust, but Nice probably has a good idea of what's going on. Everyone here today is qualifying for Monday's second part of the qualifier. So they're not through to the main tournaments. And they don't get to play tomorrow to wrap it up nice and neat. They have to wait until Monday. I'm very paranoid about clicking on the screen when StarCraft is loading. That seems to be what mostly kills it. I don't crash too often, but when I do, it's because I clicked the StarCraft 2 screen while it was loading. Alright, so... Okay, so they resumed from replay right before most of Reynor's main army died. As you recall, they were dipping both down kind of more to 160, although... Reynor far faster than Nice, I guess. But the Locusts are about to pop, and Reynor's going to choose to just disengage. It's possible that his internet started to fail slightly before, and that's why he got surrounded, because why would he get surrounded? He knew he was going to win that fight. So without the surround, things are looking a lot better for Reynor. The Locusts come in from behind. A Warp Prism comes in to help out. It was warping in Zealots way behind enemy lines. It has to come forward to help out the Colossus. And hey, what happens here? It looked like Nice was going to win because he had so much of the ground army already dead in that clump. But with the Locust and a Concave, Micro being really strong here for Reynor. Reynor is the one that comes out ahead. Nice is on 4 bases. The chances some probes over there, and he does have a substantial worker lead. He lost a lot of slow building units. He almost loses his Phoenix, kind of for no reason, as there aren't enough of them to really help out, barely even to take on a Hydra, to be honest. Reynor is going to go for that counterattack immediately, much as Nice just did to him. And with the Locust about to pop, the Stasis Wars are once again going to have to be what Nice depends on. Colossus aren't quite out yet, but they're being made 2 at a time. But oh no, okay, that's not the power pylon for those, luckily. These Colossus need a little bit of defense on the ground. They need some support, but that's it. That's going to be it. Nice. Not too happy about losing this game, and you can't really blame him. But I'm going to assume that Reynor did, in fact, mean to micro like he just did, because Reynor is not a slouch. And he hasn't shown any, like, weakness of like, mental state quite yet, so it's not like he hasn't shown he's the type of person to just be like, I'm dead, like, I gave up. So I'm pretty sure there was an internet issue slightly before the actual disconnect, and he did mean to do that, and obviously when he does it, and the Locust pop, and everything comes together, he wins against that army. Nice. You could certainly argue didn't compensate for that potential change. You know, he felt like he could continue rushing in because before the recover, he was looking totally fine, but he was actually being baited into a surroundable position on creep without a lot of force fields left over, so. But very interesting stuff. Usually, when it comes to a point like that, it doesn't change very much, even with recover from replay. But there were a hell of a lot of locusts, and that army surviving longer was a very big deal. Wasn't Reynor doing well yesterday? He had a problem. He had a road bump that was called Protoss. There are a decent amount of Protoss in the second stage of this qualifier, by the way. So even though I think Reynor has a very strong chance to make it out of today's portion, I'm not so sure about the round of 16. Yeah, round of 16 double elimination that's happening Monday. Lucero did have a relatively, well, I don't want to say easy bracket. I thought he was going to get messed up by Hurricane, but Hurricane lost to a Chinese player named Yunai. Who then Lucero did 2-1. But Lucero, like, really, he was losing against people I didn't expect him to in the last server qualifiers, so I don't know, maybe you and I had stronger whatever versus Protoss. I'm not sure what race they play. But Lucero 2-1 him and is now facing Trap, and I'm feeling that Trap wins that. Trap was taking on Innovation yesterday, and while it's a different matchup, I think it just is a testament that Trap has his head on straight and that he's going to do well, whereas Lucero, based off previous results, I'm a little less confident. Ragnarok 2-1 Scarlet, and today is not double elimination, so she has to wait until next... I'm actually not sure when the second one is. I think it's next, like... I think it's like next Sunday. Like not this Sunday, but like next Sunday or something like that. She's got to wait a while, and she's running out of chances, and I'm not sure that she would be willing to fly over, or I'm not sure her team would be willing to fly her over to the main event for the open qualifiers. Open bracket, sorry. So that could be her last chance. So Ragnarok is waiting in a qualifying match. Was what I was trying to get to. We're in a game number 2. In the bottom right, it is the Blue Protoss Nice. Sponsored by Afrika Taiwan, apparently. In top left, I believe still teamless. Recently, but still. It is the Red Zerg, Reynor. So continuing on with the bracket updates, because nothing else is happening. Yeah. Bunny beat out Zanster, who is in Korea as well. He's in the foreigner team house. Leonok vs. Kira started a little while ago. Bunny's still waiting for that TVP between Fantasy and Deer. Sue probably going to be facing Keen, but Cyan's no slouch. Actually, could be either one of those guys, but I think Sue wins against either one, so that's, you know, whatever. The end result is the same, I suppose. The winner of this is going to face a live Drogo. That's still the case. Still don't know who's going to win over there. And then Hero Trust is happening as well as Creator Solar. So there's the updates. Qualifying matches are best of 5. But considering we'll probably get into one of the last qualifying matches to start, probably won't have too many to cast. Come Monday, things will be a little smoother as everyone should be showing up on time. There were a lot of lates. I can't think of the words. Like, not like check-ins because they checked in, but they're late to showing themselves in the actual client today. There was like 4 or 5 people constantly shouting out where their opponent, you know, where's their opponent, where's their opponent. And I shouldn't have to have a crash that ruins everything either, so, you know. After 4 days of relatively smooth, cool runnings. Really smooth, honestly. This is really, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. Things like APM visible in replays. Yes, yes they are. At the very end of that fight before the crash, Reynor did drop all the way down to 0 APM. So, if that's where you're going with that anyways, I think that it's another proof that things were already going wrong, even before, you know, Battle.net picked up on it. I don't know who Trust is. He's actually a very old school player. I mean, you don't have many new Korean players advancing in brackets or even signing up for this one, which is a little sad. I think he was on CJ at one point. Don't think Trust ever had any breakout performances though. It's always been a solid Protoss. So we have a different opener from Nice. Looks like he's going to be going maybe a little bit cheesy. Obviously was not happy with how that last game ended, considering how well it looked for him. We got Charge on the way as well as a Robo. No gas is taken at the natural quite yet, and if they are taken, I'm pretty sure they won't be fully saturated. We should be seeing a lot of gateways put down. Reynor's going to have to scout this somehow. He's not going to have any Overlords to send in there. Nice and easy. The one that he did try already died. Things must start popping into his head, though, like reasons why there's a Stalker killing his Overlord, why, you know, where is the third base is eventually going to pop up into his mind as time goes on. And Reynor is not taking anything too lightly, despite very limited information. He's already adding on a Roach Warren, and if he really figures things out, then he'll stop building drones around, what is 45, I think is one of the safer times to stop if you're up against this all-in. With 50 being okay as well, I think, and 55 just being a little too much. But the sooner you can stop drones, I suppose, with realistically still having enough to support production, the better. If it's a macro game and you totally misread, though, that's when you're screwed. But Reynor's not misreading. 6 roaches, 6 safety roaches, a really good call. He's got a couple extra queens as well, perhaps to transfuse, but, you know, more hopefully for him to tear down this Warp Prism. This wasn't as many gateways as I thought. This was only a couple of gateways, and I thought maybe a Sentry would come with this to try and do some shenanigans on the ramp. Nope, didn't happen either. Not a build I'm too familiar with. I really thought this was looking like a Charge all-in. But Nice maybe figured out that he was maybe it's just the first part of a Charge all-in. I don't know. I'll hold off what I was thinking, that maybe he's reacting to being reacted to, but I don't know. He's gonna see with this Warp Prism that the roaches are already out. Reynor, reading into this again pretty correctly, is not over making roaches, and in fact, oh my god, he's killed the Warp Prism. Nexus is gonna be canceled. At the very least, it wasn't killed, but a very, very bad start for a Protoss player who still doesn't have his natural gases. And that's why I'm like, okay, so is he just gonna get +1, a couple of Immortals, and then do his all-in? I'm hesitant to believe that third Nexus was truly going to be saturated at any point. Things are feeling very weird for the Protoss player. Reynor, you know, the other race, the person you're facing, I guess it could be Zerg as well as EDZ, but the point is, as a Zerg player, when your opponent starts playing kind of like weird Drunken Master type stuff, and Protoss can do that, right? They all in, but then they macro, but then they all in again. You're just like, what are you doing? Stop it. It can cause a couple of really dumb games to happen, right? Where Reynor thinks, okay, so you're not doing anything, and then he drones a little too high, he goes to the 70s or something like that, and dies to a follow-up all-in. Like, that can happen. But Reynor's not being so greedy. He is trying to continue to scout here. Again, no sight on the double gases, I think, is... If he had an Overlord that was just chilling here, he'd know 100%, but... Gonna keep checking that third Nexus. And, you know, you don't really see a big transfer of probes, or any transfer of probes, actually. Even in a macro game. It's not 100% a good, you know, the scout to have. But he's got Lings over here searching for Warp Prisms coming forward again, which would give him a heads up. Over here as well, in case the army just goes, you know, this way. But the army is reacting to the third Nexus, and then some. It's going across the map. Is there a warp prism? Okay, there has to have been one. I was going to say, you don't really do an all-in unless you get a warp prism. And there it is. Not really going for the reinforcement of the army, but rather going for a distraction tactic. Doesn't really work out, though. Reynor is on top of things, and I don't believe this all-in's going to work. Does not trick Reynor enough. Reynor doesn't quite have his +1 or his roach speed, and he did go up to 64 drones. That's a little high, perhaps. But he's building a wall. He's got spore crawlers to make sure that the warp prism doesn't get easy peasy micro. Immortals are being used appropriately to tear down this wall. But it's already bought in a couple of crucial seconds for Reynor to pop out like 16 more roaches. Bring down his queens as well. No sentries being added in here, so the queens are going to be able to go up the ramp and try and focus right on the warp prism. And once the warp prism is dead, there's just no reinforcements in general anymore, and that can be really bad news. Ravagers are being used to tear down the force fields as they pop up, so the force fields, I mean, there's still a lot left over. You're still slicing and dicing off those roaches, but the zealots from behind did not really do very much. I don't think they were so much meant to come from behind as they were meant to just decimate the main base, and they're really not doing a great job of that. They mostly just died without helping the immortals, which are really the backbone here. There was punching through most of the roaches, even the ravagers, although they're not armored. This is a very small Protoss army. It's not being reinforced kind of in a very like weird technical way as the reinforcements are going over here. So it looks like Reynor is going to be able to push through this. It got a little bit dicey at the end, but everything works out as Reynor's able to save all of his workers. Still at 61. He just pulled them from the main base, so he was temporarily lacking on maybe some gas mining, but that wasn't really a problem, as you can see here. I think his queens died. Yeah, he's only at 3 for the injects, but he could remake just 2, or remake the spore crawlers that were killed as well to help deal with the warp prism. Because right now, Reynor knows why the warp prism is doing what it's doing. Besides just in general, you know, getting damage done equals good. It's buying time. Nice knows that he lost a large army. Luckily, he saved most of the expensive parts of his army, his sentries and his immortals. He still lost a ton of zealots and a couple of sentries here and there. He needs to buy time. He needs to get those reinforcements up. A couple of shield batteries also wouldn't hurt, because a lot of these immortals are already very low with their actual, you know, hull health. So when the shields are gone, they're going to die instantly. But he can't really afford it. He's been working off a very low work account for quite some time. Didn't start building probes while he realized things were going to go south. And he's still at 38. These probes over here just because the main is so mined out. +2 is currently being chrono, but I'm not really sure that's going to help that much. I mean, this Protoss army is efficient. Talk about scary Protoss armies in the mid-game. Immortal Sentry is one of them. I'm not sure +2 is going to help as much as he's hoping for, but it is another time for him to try and hit. Reynor not going for a max out of roaches. He is going once again for swarm hosts, which looked like they almost bit him in the butt last game, but I think they're a totally fine thing to get this game, assuming that they're out in time, and they will be. There's not much that Nice can do against those locusts. He can try and run away from them. He can try to force fill them out, but if they hit the heart of the army, those sentries are going to pop, pop, pop. And the immortals are going to be able to help against that. Projectile is used on the army and the force fields, because there's so damn many of them. The force fields still slicing off roughly 50% and successfully stop a bunch of the locusts from popping. Well, from hitting his sentries, I guess, but they're still going to finally go up there, add some DPS. It looks like they didn't actually matter as much as the sheer numbers of roaches and ravagers. And this is going to look like a close fight, but it's really not, because Reynor has all his reinforcements, and Nice is going to tap out. That is it. Reynor 2-0s the Taiwanese Protoss and advances on to the qualifying match.